Hey everyone, it's ENDYMION, and recently we had the entire list of the Game Awards nominations coming out officially. And it's kind of crazy the more I look at it over, but it's actually proving that, like many other things this year, that the woke agenda is absolutely dying across the board. There's no denying it now. Beyond this, I want to also look into the creator of God of War, who is seething at people over Dragon Age of all things, but it's mostly to bring about a bigger conversation over how disconnected the players and the people who make games are at in a Western sense. Firstly, the Game Awards. The nominees got announced, and hey, I want to just publicly state that I was wrong 100%. I was sure as rain that Dragon Age would get nominated and sweep the awards. But in a surprising twist, the Game Awards has essentially completely rejected Veilguard in every single category but one. The only thing that Veilguard is nominated for is accessibility, which, I mean, good for them, I guess. But at least it was not nominated for Best RPG or Story, and thank God it had none of the character performances nominated either. But the fact that it lost and wasn't even given a Game of the Year nod is hilarious and validating to where this industry is heading in the future. Looking at the 6 nominations, it's a bunch of Japanese games, one Chinese game in Wukong, and a single Western-made indie game called Balatro. And I probably mispronounced that. I never played this Balatro or Balatro, but based on what I saw online, it seems to be a poker-esque card game with roguelike elements tied into it. I won't lie, the game does look unique in what it's offering, but I am hard-pressed to believe that it will win Game of the Year, but who knows. At this point, as long as anything wins over Dragon Age, it's fine by me. Personally, out of this list, I would want Black Myth Wukong to win. Just because I want to see IGN get really mad and for that hit piece article they wrote about the devs being sexist, just blow up in their faces again. It'd be so funny. But if I really had to pick one game for like myself as Game of the Year, I would have to go with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from this list myself. No game, for me anyway, felt more complete this year than Rebirth did. It was just objectively a phenomenal game that faithfully realized its potential in pretty much every way for me as a Final Fantasy fan. Of course, Metaphor Refantizo is nominated. I haven't played that game myself though. However, now that it's nominated quite a bit, I may check it out to see if what's being said about this game is true. Apart from its nominations, I saw quite a few people on Twitter saying that they were confused why YouTubers weren't calling Metaphor woke or not. And listen, I can't confirm if anything in that game is woke or not. Again, I haven't played it myself. But seeing it be celebrated like this, and then seeing the discourse on Twitter where people who played it do not call it woke and yet others do, it does make me want to check it out so I can properly understand and give my own opinion on it like I did with Dragon Age. But we'll see. I'm still playing East Nordics myself and I want to play Dragon Quest III next. But regardless, looking at this Game of the Year list, I'm happy with it. I'm glad that the big nuclear slops got snubbed in the big categories at least. Dragon Age, Dustborn, and so on, they didn't get big nods, although I think nominating Concord for Best Multiplayer, it would have been a funny troll, but well, what can you do, I guess. Best performance-wise, personally, I hope it goes to Brianna White for playing Aerith in Rebirth. I thought she did a great job myself. I didn't play stuff like Hellblade 2, which according to sales numbers and players, neither did most people either. And Humberly Gonzalez for Star Wars Outlaws, again, I haven't played it, so I couldn't tell you whether her performance is great or not. Other awards, including Games for Impact, which is basically an award category for which game pandered or has been the most exclusive, I guess. And the list there makes sense, they all kind of check out. Honestly, I'm surprised that Dustborn at least wasn't nominated there, since it did star a bunch of queer off-brand X-Men who were just insufferable. As for the rest of the awards, Helldivers 2 got Best Community Support, which, I don't know, me personally, that feels wrong. That game fumbled its community for months this year due to their moronic community managers and all of the nerfing. They've now since turned things around, I know, but Helldivers 2 will likely never become the phenomenon it was when it first released. As for the rest of the awards, like Best Ongoing, Mobile Game, or Art Direction, whoever wins, I don't really care, to be honest. Look, I'm just happy that Dragon Age got snubbed across the board, and that's kind of the point of this video for me right here. Which is that this year, for me anyway, has proven that we were heading down a path where everything we knew could have gotten so much worse than it is right now. We would have had mass censorship if the Democrats won the election. We would have had our games getting worse with more identity politics and so on if we didn't stand up and speak out against it. But this year has proven that all of these things and more are changing in honestly quick fashion, and it's great to see. We went from going towards a bleak future to an optimistic one, and the Game Awards as well clearly understands that they didn't want to anger the players any more than they already have been this year. I genuinely think that Gamergate 2 has had a direct impact on everything here for games. I think the industry finally understands that they cannot defeat Gamergate 2 like they did the original version, which, understandably, was far less organized than it is right now. I think the Game Awards are a direct reaction to the unwavering strength of the gaming community at large. That they don't want to piss them off anymore, or they will face the might of the internet. Geoff Keighley, obviously he needs people to watch the Game Awards, it's where he makes the bulk of his money every year, and he's likely realizing that it makes zero sense to alienate and ridicule the paying player base out there by not respecting them. And when I look at these awards, I mean, I have some contentions here or there. I think Space Marine 2 should have been nominated more, and I do agree with others that Shadow of the Erdtree should not be nominated for Game of the Year. It's a DLC. I know some will say, well, it's so large that it's practically its own game. Okay, I understand that, but it's still DLC. I do think having a best DLC category would work better, of course, but to me, it looks like the Game Awards pivoted last minute into placing this new rule that DLC can now be nominated for Game of the Year, just so Shadow of the Erdtree could get nominated or potentially win. Maybe because Geoff Keighley didn't want an actual straight-up JRPG with all the bells and whistles to win, so he wanted a more safe bet. But I still don't agree with it either way, and I think that if Erdtree wins Game of the Year, which I disagree with since I found the DLC myself disappointing, and the game's systems to hamper an experience for no other reason than because FromSoft wanted to, for me anyway, it would be very disappointing if it were to win, in my opinion. It would be like nominating No Man's Sky for Game of the Year this year because it's had multiple years worth of content added to the game. Even though it originally came out in 2016, it's not technically fair in my opinion. Plus, there's so many other games that have come out this year that could have easily fit that spot over Erdtree. I'm actually surprised that Helldivers 2 didn't get a Game of the Year nomination, considering the initial reception to that game was completely insane. But it is what it is, I guess. But no, I don't agree with DLC being there. Regardless, at least it's good to see that the games that were attacking players constantly didn't get nominated the way that they wanted to. And then there's Thomas Mahler, the CEO and creative director at Moon Studios, who recently responded to the fact that Erdtree got nominated. Here's what he said via Twitter. It seems like a few people are upset that the Elden Ring DLC has been nominated for the Game of the Year award at this year's Game Awards. Let me be clear, I'm 100% on board with this decision and told Geoff Keighley the same a few months ago. The industry is changing and we're moving from boxed products and sequelitis more towards games that are kept alive, if it makes sense to do so. I think in the future, we'll see more and more games that are treated as mere platforms that are then receiving updates continuously. And we should celebrate those achievements just as much as we're celebrating entirely new products. I understand where Thomas is coming from, however, I still don't feel as though this should be a thing going forward. They already have a category at the Game Awards called Best Ongoing Game, which perfectly fits the need for these sorts of nominations. I do think celebrating and awarding games that have continuous support and updating themselves is important, your Fortnites, your Call of Duties, No Man's Skies, etc. However, the truth of that matter is that allowing these games which would have years upon years of content updates, gameplay tweaks, and so on, be placed within a category against games that are released in the current calendar year as more finite experiences like your 7 Rebirths or Metaphor, is just not fair and it's not genuine. I think a best DLC category, it would just fix all of this and makes much more sense. Of course, Thomas Mahler believes this line is blurring between the games and their support, but I disagree. It's pretty easy to differ between these already. Elden Ring is the base game, we all understand that I'm sure, and Erdtree is the DLC. They are two different things, like I said before. I don't think No Man's Sky should ever be nominated for Game of the Year. It had its chance in 2016 to get that award and it didn't. But it could win Best Ongoing Game, sure, or Best DLC, or even Best Studio if Hello Games proved that they were worthy of that over others, sure. Absolutely, no complaints from me. But I think that we are needlessly convoluting what should be nominated for Game of the Year now. It should be dictated simply as a brand new product, no DLC or anything like that, which came out in the same year that particular Game Awards ceremony is happening. Like, it's common sense. I don't know how much more clear I can explain it. You guys understand, I don't need to repeat it, I'm sure. Honestly, even when I look at 7 Rebirth though, I kind of start thinking, should this even be nominated? Hear me out. Because Rebirth is a remake of an older game, not even the whole game, mind you. It's just disc 1 of 3 in the case of Final Fantasy VII on PS1. Because with this now being nominated too for Game of the Year, it means that remakes can also now be nominated. Sure, we know this, Resident Evil 4 Remake got nominated last year too at the Game Awards, so what then? This just kind of opens up another can of worms for me, because this means people like Nintendo, for example, could just one day go and remake, I don't know, Ocarina of Time, and that could theoretically win Game of the Year in like 2030 or whenever they end up doing it. And I want to ask you a question. Should that be considered a brand new game that can compete against more original games that were made in the same year? Is that fair? It isn't really, in my opinion, because then companies can just remake beloved classics and then sweep the awards on nostalgia alone. So as you can see, this all gets very muddy and kind of weird really fast the more you think about it, but at the very least, we shouldn't have DLC in this conversation. Regardless of its size, I don't care. It's still DLC, it's not the main game. It would kind of be like nominating Lair of the Shadow Broker from Mass Effect 2 for Game of the Year. Sure, it's a great thing, but it's DLC, it's not a main game. So let's not do this, guys. And if Erdtree wins, honestly, it would just prove my suspicions right, and I hope that I'm wrong. I would actually want Game of the Year to instead go to either Wukong or Metaphor, because then the game that wins was something that wasn't a remake of something that was already existing, or DLC in this case. At least Dragon Age got cooked, so I'm happy regardless. And when you look at the jury for the Game Awards, it's a lot of websites and channels that are very openly left-leaning, and they've just been attacking players for years. Stuff like GameSpot, IGN, even places like Kinda Funny of all things, are allowed to vote on what they think should win. Which is why I always tell you guys, whatever wins at the Game Awards, ultimately, it was not chosen by the players at large. It's always been decided by the same groups that have been ruining games for years now, always. Not to mention, Jeff Keighley is trying to trademark the name Game Awards for copyright as well. That Park Place has their article here on it, and in my opinion, it's just not right. If Keighley gets what he wants, then nobody can use the term game and awards in the same sentence ever again when it comes to the end of year listings for games. He will have effectively monopolized the term and completely absorbed the SEO, or search engine optimization, of those keywords to only be related to his show, and that's it. Keighley has also went out of his way to ask viewers and fans of the Game Awards to send letters and personal statements to reinforce Keighley's right to obtain the name for himself. I personally don't think it's the right thing to do, and I think it will limit the discussion around the concept of game awards to a select cabal of people to decide for the rest of time. Which is obviously what Jeff Keighley is hoping for. We already know the Game Awards are a massive corporatized event. They barely let the developers speak when they win, with the now infamous wrap it up screen becoming a meme now. They will, however, let out-of-touch celebrities who have no business being there announcing nominations instead. Remember when Al Pacino was at the Game Awards? Who the hell cares what Al Pacino thinks about video games? The guy even admitted on stage that he has no idea why he's there, but you can bet your butt cheeks that the Game Awards paid for his hotel, his dining, and plane ride to and from to stand there on stage for like 3 times the amount of time the actual developers that won for their games get to speak. I just wish the Game Awards were more about the actual video games and the developers behind it. But Jeff Keighley and his ilk instead, they use it to pump up as much advertising, trailers, and more into the show so that they can make the most amount of money they can in one night. Most people watching, they don't even really seem to care anymore about who wins anymore either. It's all instead about the trailers and the reveals of anything else, but I do think trying to trademark the term Game Awards is simply being done because they want to control the conversation over what's considered the best of the best every year. Even Dustin Furman of Last Stand Media, which by the way is not on the committee voting board, but it should be, said this via Twitter. Extremely happy to see Balatro get a nom for Game of the Year. I'm mixed on the Erdtree debate, but I think it's missing the forest for the trees. The current jury makes little sense, and I can't take the Game Awards too seriously until there's some kind of reform. And I agree, I think the Game Awards does not represent the current demographic or voices within the industry at all. It's been the same tired voices choosing what wins for 10 years in a row now, most of whom are completely disconnected from what the players think or want from the games they play these days. Of course, I doubt the Game Awards would ever allow, say, me or Grums or Stuttering Craig as side-scrollers into the conversation. But I think the rejection of most, not all, but most political agenda nonsense in terms of the big awards at least is a good sign. And I agree with Dustin Furman of Last Stand. The Game Awards needs a reform, and it's obvious that Keighley doesn't want to lose control over the narrative nor the message of what the Game Awards should stand for in his eyes, especially since he profits so handsomely off it every year. We all already don't take IGN or GameSpot, PC Gamer, or Screen Rant seriously when it comes to their articles. Yet they are all on the jury because why exactly? Dustin even said in a follow-up tweet that 2 of the jurors are companies that went under, and they're bankrupt, yet they can still vote. And I'm not 100% sure which groups he's referring to. Maybe if you know, say it in the comments so others can find out. But this just also adds injury to insult. Why are defunct groups voting on stuff? It makes no sense. But I think more than anything, the reaction to this nomination lineup proves one thing for sure, that people are over agenda pushing, and it proves that absolutely nobody wants these things anymore. Because all they do is ruin and dismantle the things we love for no reason than to push nonsense. And it's usually the people in the industry that have been here the longest that have the biggest chips on their shoulders. This then brings me to David Jaffe. You may know him as the creator of God of War. Since then, he made some other stuff, but largely speaking, the guy has mostly turned into a video game commentator, I guess. At first, I used to watch him here or there, but it became clear over time that Jaffe has, well, become pretty unhinged. He represents the old guard, so to speak, that old legacy gaming media, if you will. Recently, he released not 1, but 2 videos claiming that anyone who didn't like Dragon Age Veilguard specifically was an idiot. Of course, I don't agree with this, but just listen to how he lays it out for you, the viewer here, and hopefully this clip is still in the video. Unless he copyrights it, I gotta take it out, but hopefully the clip is here, so please watch.
That's become almost kind of this talking point where people are like, Dragon Age isn't selling. Yeah, I'm like, who gives a shit? Dragon Age is fun. The new Dragon Age is a fun game. I don't care if it's sold. What's the matter with you? This kind of goes back into that masculinity camp. Gears of War is also a masculine game. Who cares? What is your obsession with this? This is officially not a flop. Just shut up. What happened to just... Is it the kids today? Is it the schooling today? I assume I have to say this because people were writing me in the comments of the last video going... This is not Russia. We can say what we want. We can talk about a game we don't like. Allow me to be very clear. I know. No one actually is trying to prevent you from expressing whatever you want to express. It sucks I have to be clear on that, but I don't know. Some people maybe, I don't know. I shouldn't be surprised anymore that people don't actually watch the video. They just see the headline, but that's fine. It is. I mean, people are busy. Yes, of course, you can hate Dragon Age. You can hate it for any reason you want, and you can express it all day long. My video was not literally about saying, you don't have that right. My video was saying, if you have done that, and a lot of you have, and you've made your point clear, either by choosing not to buy it, even though a lot of you haven't played it or really looked into it, a lot of you are clearly parroting things you've heard or seen. You haven't played it. I've played it. But some of you have, and that's fine. Even if you haven't, that's fine. You don't have to have spent money to have an opinion on something. I mean, you do if you want to be taken serious, that you have to experience the thing you have an opinion on. I mean, you do if you want to be taken serious, that you have to experience the thing you have an opinion on. My video was more about just like, I'm tired of hearing about it, so shut the f*** up. You don't actually have to shut the f*** up. Again, it's coming out of my mouth hearing it. It's like, yeah, that's so obvious. I know, but some people are not good with social cues, or some people are not good with, not that my thing was that nuanced, but, some people take things very black and white, and literally the thumbnail says, shut up about Dragon Age. So maybe people are thinking, Jaffe says you can't talk about Dragon Age. But I mean, that's fine. So I just wanted to be clear. Talk about it, yell about it, boycott it, buy the physical edition, put your dick in the hole. I really don't care.
And look, Jaffe, I don't hate you, but I just want to say you're coming off very condescending here. Firstly, you say people didn't play it. Well, Jaffe, let me come from a position of someone who both hates the game and has played the game. I 100%ed Veilguard, I platinumed it. Look up my PSN if you don't believe me, it's Shoryuken. SHORYYUKEN. That's my PSN, I'm not hiding it. In case you don't believe me for whatever reason, go look it up. I think this condescending attitude is why your legacy media group, whatever you want to call it, is failing so much across the board. It's because from the get-go, whether it's these Game Awards stuff, the jury people, or Jaffe here, whoever, the game journalists even, you guys keep acting like you are somehow holier than thou, that you are better than others because of whatever reason you can think of. And it's why the audience has left a lot of these things behind and moved on. It's because you're not resonating anymore. And attacking people saying that they won't be taken seriously unless they play the game 100% or something? Come on, Jaffe, no. People can watch live streams, let's plays, reviews, etc. and then form their own opinion. That's what an opinion is. And I think what you're doing here is taking what others feel in a genuine sense and throwing it away, believing it is not valid because it doesn't fit your worldview, especially near the end of your somewhat apology video, I guess, where you then say this.
I'm tired of hearing about it. I think it's annoying. I think in a lot of cases it is not based on any real experience with the game. And even the people that were writing me and saying, well, Jaffe doesn't know how different this is from the last Dragon Age. If you actually watch the video, I address that. I say in that video that I played Inquisition. I loved Inquisition. And clearly this doesn't feel like a direct sequel or even a continuation in some ways. The narrative is the same. It's about a lot of the same characters. And I didn't play the first two Dragon Age. And if you are a homophobe or a transphobe or an anti-Semite or a racist, that's a valid reason to not like something that has elements of those things in it. I would judge you for it negatively. And I know some of you are like, I'm not that. I just don't like whatever. I don't care. I mean, I care, but that's not what this video is about, and that's what my other video is about.
Do you really think it's a good idea to attack what little of an audience you have by claiming that not only are these people wrong, but that they are bigots or this phobic or that if they don't agree with you? Why are the legacy media people like this all the time? It really is, I think, a bitter jealousy thing. They don't like that there's new faces in the industry and people creating communities that they don't agree with 100%. I would ask Jaffe what he thinks of Gamergate 2, and he would probably just call it all nonsense. But the fact of the matter is this, whether it's Jaffe here being out of touch or the Game Awards trying to license the name concept, or having a jury that's full of out-of-touch groups, they're scared, is what it is. They're scared that there's an ever-growing movement and community that is just leaving them behind in the dust. Let's just say it for what it is. Again, I don't hate Jaffe. He's allowed to have his opinion on any game he wants. But hey, that's his channel. But I think attacking your audience, no matter how big or small it is, and not willing to listen to criticisms of that audience, it's a terrible idea in every way. This whole I know better than you mentality is just going to get you nowhere. In the beginning of this video, I even apologized and admitted that I was wrong about Dragon Age getting sweeping nominations. I admitted fully that, hey, I was wrong. I got that very, very wrong. But I'm happy that I'm wrong because it shows that things are changing at least. I don't think every creator, YouTube, whatever, is right 100% of the time. Of course not. I, like Jaffe, will make mistakes, but why would I attack people is my question. And I think defending Veilguard of all things as your hill to die on, it's a very stupid hill to consider in this sort of position. The game is dead, it bombed, it got one nomination, and there's no point in defending it. Just like that Andy Cortez guy at Kind of Funny who tried to lie about Smash JT and attack YouTubers like me, these people are scared, dear viewer. It is what it is. They're projecting their insecurities. And they're just trying to paint others who do content as evil because they don't agree with it for whatever reason. But ultimately, it comes down to this regardless of whichever side you find yourselves on. The agenda is dying objectively. The Game Awards has largely even abandoned many games that could be seen as divisive or garbage because they know that they need your viewership. A lot of things are becoming more center politically or maybe more right-leaning, but this is all because of a reaction to the past few years of this world. We tried the woke, we did it for 4 years and then some, games got made, agendas got pushed, and yes, I know that not all the fruits of this labor are out yet. In Sweet Baby's case anyway, we got at least 50-ish games left from them coming if Kim Belair is anything to believe, who is the co-founder of SBI who literally said that on stage once. But this whole, shut up, sit down, I'm better than you rhetoric, no, stop it. David Jaffe may have made God of War and Kratos, but the guy very openly supports the woke stuff too. So of course he's going to like Dragon Age, and he'll never talk bad about these things because he is intrinsically tied to it, and he knows that. I'm not saying boycott Jaffe or boycott the Game Awards, but I do think what we're seeing is a very weird scenario where the legacy media is grasping for any way they can to find control and, have power over the narrative and keep the conversation in their hands. And the more you try to control things, the worse it's going to get. I will be live streaming the Game Awards when it happens, so stay tuned for that if you want to come hang out with me and others live when it goes down. But this is where we're at right now. I just find it very funny, or even kind of funny even, that BioWare pandered so hard and added everything they could think of for virtue signaling points. And then the entire industry, their friends and everything, couldn't get more than one single nomination for them. I just know the devs at BioWare are feeling sick right now. Like, you guys didn't even get a pity nom for best RPG. Nothing. Y'all betted your entire financial future on a non-binary Kunari thinking that it would sweep the industry and win you all of the awards, and you got nothing. Zero. Just silence and then thunderous laughter as people couldn't believe how wrong you were. I would feel bad for BioWare, but it's so obvious this all came from a place that wasn't good in the first place. Now they're not even nominating the games that pander anymore. You can't even pity yourself into any nominations that matter these days. I guess you really should have made a true dark fantasy RPG. Hopefully Dragon Age goes into the hands of people who actually care next time. But the fact anti-woke games are getting nominated aplenty like Wukong, and the DEI-infested games are dying aplenty, and they are being quickly forgotten, and even in the face of utter mass exodus of support, that the legacy media still can't accept these things. I guess some things never change, but that's okay. It doesn't mean we need to humor it or deal with it. We'll all just keep walking forward, burning the rot away as we go, and ensuring the future is brighter and better for everyone. Things are healing, friends. I consider this a victory. Please have a wonderful day for me. Enjoy yourselves. Go play something that makes you happy. Thank you for watching. Thanks to my supporters. Subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you soon.